Hey guys, it's Joe here, and I've got something pretty exciting to talk to you about today. A little bit of a history lesson. We're going to talk about two wars, or more appropriately, one war and one battle. So the war is the Revolutionary War in America, the war that we fought against the British to drive them out of the New World, as it was known at that time, and the other is a battle that took place in 1806 between Napoleon's forces and the professional armies of Prussia. Now, why is this important for this topic today? Because the same force, the same energy, you could say, that allowed the Americans, us, to defeat the British and allowed Napoleon's forces to defeat the Prussians is the same thing, I believe, that makes people really successful in business. And it is this: morale. So in the Revolutionary War, think about it. We were a bunch of amateurs. Our forefathers they were farmers. They were craftsmen, fishermen, scholars. They weren't professional soldiers. They were just people who lived a hard life and had guns. And they drove out the professional armies of Great Britain, the Redcoats. The Redcoats were one of the most feared military forces in the world at that time. They were extremely difficult to beat. Why did the Americans win? Well, Eric Flint is a famous author. He wrote one of my favorite books, which is The Rivers of War. It's an alternate history of the War of 1812. And in this book, he writes that wars are not necessarily won by the strength of an army, but by morale, the staying power of one force over another. The force that can stay in the field and just keep fighting is most likely to be the force that wins. At some point, even for a larger force, it's just going to get too costly to stay on the battlefield. Wars are expensive. Make it so hard for the other person to sustain or the other party to sustain their conflict with you, that they stop. That's why we won the revolution. Because we had staying power. We were fighting on our own soil, and we were fighting for what we believed was right. It happened in the Civil War, too. The black soldiers. The South said, we will execute any black soldiers that we capture from the Union side. The intention, of course, was to make black people so afraid to fight in the Union Army that they wouldn't join up. But it had the opposite effect. It actually raised the morale of the black regiments. And they would not budge. They would not let themselves be taken prisoner. They made it so damn hard for the South to overrun their positions that Confederate soldiers stopped being willing to go up against black regiments. They had to be forced to go and fight the black regiments because those guys stood their ground and fought to the death. Now, where business is concerned, I'm not saying fight to the death. I'm just saying that this force, morale, persistence, This is what makes people successful in business. The ability and the ability to inspire that in other people is what makes people successful in business. Steve Jobs didn't know anything about computers. Absolutely nothing. But he knew how to inspire people, how to raise their morale, how to make them want to stay and persist and fight. And do that so much better than the rest of their competition that he built a company that, I mean, it's Apple. I don't think I need to say any more than that. It's Apple. It's a matter of mindset, and that leads me to the next topic. I'm going to talk about 3 mindsets. The first mindset is I work for you. The second is I work with you. And the third is I work for me. Now, the I work for me, yeah, I'm going to go into that a little bit. But first, I want to have a conversation with you about this battle that took place in 1806 between Napoleon's forces and the professional soldiers of Prussia. It was a similar engagement, except that now Napoleon's forces were actually fighting on Prussian soil, I believe. They were not fighting on their own soil. But it was a pitched battle. It wasn't drawn out over, the entire eastern seaboard of the United States like our conflict was. But anyway, the point is that these amateur soldiers, these craftsmen, these scholars, these farmers fought and defeated a professional army of Prussians. Why? Because Napoleon was able to change their mindset. They no longer thought of themselves as craftsmen, as fishermen, as farmers. They thought of themselves as soldiers. Soldiers fighting for a man that they loved, Napoleon. And that gave them so much staying power that they stayed on that battlefield and they fought and fought and fought until the Prussians retreated. But here's the thing. What was the Prussian response to this? The Prussian response was that in 1819, I believe this was after the fall of Napoleon. In 1819, the Prussians implemented a younger version of the public school system that we have today. And the purpose of this public school system was to train soldiers. It was to train soldiers and basically teach people to take orders, right? To be good miners, to be good fishermen, to be good soldiers, to be good whatever it was that the Prussian government needed them to be. That's what the public school system in Prussia taught them to be. And our public school system, and every public school system in the world, is based off of that state-sponsored, forced learning. Now, how does this fit into the 3 mindsets that I want to talk to you about? Well, let's start with the mindset that the public school system teaches. The public school system teaches, I work for you. That's the mindset. I work for you. I'm going to educate myself, be educated by this system, and learn how to operate in one little economic niche that you want me to fill. And maybe there's a range, like there is in the US. There's a range of economic niches that you can fill after having gone through the public school system and getting an education. But the point is, you're still working for somebody else, and the person at the top is the person who's profiting. The second mindset is, let's say that somebody is a little bit more rebellious minded. And, doesn't, even having gone through the public school system, even having gone to college, has this mindset of I work for me, I do my own thing, I march to the beat of my own drum. And this is one of my own personal issues, is that this is the mindset I have. And I need to change it. Because nobody becomes a millionaire on their own. We hear all this stuff about he's a self-made millionaire. You know, Bill Gates is a self-made millionaire. Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg, these are self-made millionaires. They're not. Nobody is a self-made millionaire. Everybody gets there with other people. I guarantee you that Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs and Bill Gates don't do their own accounting. Would they be successful without proper accounting? No. No, they'd get the crap audited out of them. How about all the people who help them build their company and give them ideas and vet them and, force them to think and challenge them to keep going, to keep moving? There is no such thing as a self-made millionaire, and so the I work for me doesn't work either. The best mindset to have is the I work with mentality. Because collaboration, not coercion, not compromise, collaboration leads to shared prosperity. And that's my dream for my life. I want to create shared prosperity. I want everything that I do to benefit everybody else who's around me, to help them to be better, more successful, more prosperous people. That's why I'm making these videos. That's why I'm putting so much effort into looking up these things. Like, I didn't know all that stuff about Prussia and Germany off the top of my head. I had to go and look it up online. The best way, the best mindset to have is the I work with. Collaboration means that we work with other people for the good of everyone, so that everyone wins out. And our ability to collaborate and work with other people is influential, is critical, I should say, to our success. Now, I know this video was a little bit longer than my normal videos, but I hope it was worth it, and you guys have a good afternoon.